Today we are gathered here to hear loud and clear the call to respond to the climate change by watching the film The Letter, so that we hear the message that we are to carry in our hearts and action on it. As we celebrate this day, let us be counted among those who believe that we have an obligation to respect, share, and care for the entire of God's creation. The fundamental message today is that we have a moral obligation, we have a duty, we have a responsibility to care for the environment, to care for the Mother Earth, because the cry of the Mother Earth is the cry of the poor. We have an obligation to respect all of God's creation because it was created with a purpose by the Creator. We have an obligation, we have a responsibility to assure that its goods are equitably shared with all. The environment with justice and holiness. Let us therefore be reminded today, as we are gathered here, that we must never forget that this capacity to transform and in a certain sense create the world through our work is always based on God's prior or original gift of the things that are. We must be reminded that we must not make arbitrary use of the earth, subjecting it without restraint to our selfish will. How are we going to instill ecological responsibility? By advocating a unified moral vision, a global ethic, and global solidarity in addressing ecological problems. May this day therefore be a day of blessing, may it be a day of ecological conversion. Let us all enjoy this day to the full. Welcome and welcome and welcome again. Karibuni sana.
Interfaith Youth Forum started in 2008. It was begun by Justice, Peace and Integrity of Creation Franciscans Africa. At that time, it was immediately after 2007 violence. It drew us to the spirit of St. Francis of Assisi, who is our ceramic father as Franciscan family, a spirit of interfaith dialogue. Our common home, you destroy our future, and it's the future of the students, the pupils, the little ones. It's not for you, it is for the leaders of today. Let us hold our hands together and take care of this common home by avoiding anything that will make Mother Earth feel pain and Mother Earth send tears. By tearing it, by avoiding anything. I will not go to any place that is destroying, helping us to destroy our climate change. Then we'll be going somewhere. And littering of our compounds or identifying our compound. And in this case, I'm also requesting us, as we are here, we leave this place very clean, don't litter anything in this our Catholic University. Thank you so much.
Our beliefs in the churches and the mosques, and let's concentrate on what is unique to us all. And that's why I'm trying to push for Laudato to become an interfaith movement. And it's also selfishly trying to become the first Muslim ambassador for Laudato. Because I found that there are very much similarities. The Quran has got several other ayahs also. But we have to make this movement successful as students do our research. Find which products are bringing maximum profit to India, China, US. And also find the products that these countries are producing which are harming the environment most. boycott for a month. And they'll have no choice.
I would like to thank you all for coming today, students, teachers, faith leaders, faith-based organizations, local and indigenous communities, and other authorities. Thank you to the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, Laudato Si movement, and the Franciscan Family Association for the invitation. On behalf of UNEP, Madam Executive Director Inger Andersen, UNEP Faith for Earth Director Dr. Iya Abumoglu, and our team, we are pleased and honored to be here celebrating the first launch of the letter in the Mother Africa. Almost 2 months ago, we were celebrating the start of Season of Creation, and the season brought us together to raise awareness about our responsibility to take care of our planet. This annual Interfaith Youth Forum on Environment and Peace is another call to action and an opportunity for youth to get involved in our common responsibility. Boys, girls, teenagers, young adults, you have a key role in the triple planetary crisis: pollution, loss of biodiversity, and climate change. You are change makers.
To avoid the worst impacts of the climate crisis, we must hold ourselves, our neighbors, and our governments accountable and collectively act. For too long, government action has been painstakingly slow and catered too much to the reckless and deceptive fossil fuel corruptions and corporations, preventing meaningful and timeful climate legislation. There is a glaring disconnect between countries and approvals for continued fossil fuel expansion and their rhetoric proclaiming long-term net zero targets, a dangerous veil to evade. Responsibility, delay action, and rely on unproven technologies. The burning of coal, oil, and gas is responsible for 86% of carbon dioxide emissions in the past decade. According to the IPCC, just 100 companies account for more than 70% of these emissions. With these emissions, we also come to the cost of local pollution, environmental degradation, and health impacts associated with extracting, refining, transporting, and burning fossil fuels. These costs are disproportionately paid by those who are most vulnerable to and least historically responsible for the consequences of climate change.
The next step in calling on the governments and plan global just transition. The current skills of the climate crisis require a cooperative global solution that addresses the fossil fuels industry directly. We call on the governments to urgently commence negotiations to develop and implement a fossil fuels purification treaty, laying out a binding global plan to, number one, end expansion of any new coal or gas production in line with the best available science as outlined by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, and the United Nations Environment Programme. Number two, phase out existing production of fossil fuels in a manner that it is fair and equitable. We have another window of opportunity to act, which is why we are joining the growing of chorus of indigenous people, civil society leaders, youth, cities, lawmakers, academics, and scientists, calling for a global treaty to phase out fossil fuels and support a just transition powered by clean energy and a sustainable future for all. Thank you.
In this way, I come to address you out of a bit of experience with nature, experience with planting, growing of trees. Yeah, this is a bit earlier. It is indicated here the whole morning. We have celebrated, we have heard about fossils, what is disturbing our globe, what is disturbing our air and water and our resources. How can the next generation count with their resources given by Mother Earth. We are concerned about our real global future. And there is definitely no rain anymore in the world if we cut all forest. We have to make it very clear. For example, the hour is really urgent to reflect upon and to come to resolutions concerning what has to be done. Thank you for hearing locally when an MP, when a government is taking some focus on urgent points for human survival in this world. Plant them locally, or we say to Equity Bank, come, we have produced for you, bring them out, bring them to the world, to other areas where you feel they are needed and welcome and can be distributed and planted. So we have, you see, we have a circle of corporations. Nobody can walk alone, but in our bishops of Bishop Obala of Ngong Diocese, or the Bishop of Laudato, very helpful, very supportive, and others, to let the Catholic Church get more and more involved in planning for the environment and producing in reality, in activities, via youth, via activities, via teacher groups, via men's, women movements, the planning and the installation and the activity of planting more trees in our outstations, parishes and dioceses as a whole. So that would be a bit of, from my side, to have something said concerning where we...
There are floods everywhere. In some other parts there is drought. In some other parts there is harassment or even killings of those who protect our common home. And for us who are represented, like the African continent being represented by Aruna, you know, when I was growing up, there was this desire to go to Europe or to US through any other means possible. Here at home right now, we are seeing how our people are being trafficked to Saudi Arabia and those other countries, and we are seeing what's happening to them. We are also called upon to look at how we relate with our surrounding. And this we can do through policies, advocacy, and so forth. Remember that in Laudato Si, Pope Francis says that everyone's talent is needed. Each one of us here sitting down has their own specific and unique talents. We need to use this to ensure that we have the fourth dialogue that we normally don't have with other creation. This area, we are looking forward to working with your new office in ensuring how we make this area friendly to everyone, friendly to human beings, friendly to the nature. Actually, this area hosts a magnificent resource, the national park, and the national park has lots of other animals and biodiversity. And even not just inside there, but everywhere. We'll be glad to visit your office next time again to see how we can support you, how you can support us, and how we can actually have some policies, good environmental policies within the lawmaking institutions of our country.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's already afternoon. All right, thank you. I'm pleased to have a chance to meet all of you here today. And it's a great pleasure to be at the Catholic University of East Africa, and a venue that has opened its doors to many of the world conferences that touch every heart of humanity. It is indeed a particular joy to grace this Interfaith Youth Conference, to stir up the energy of the many young people in front of me today. Just as we have been brought together by this event, I believe everyone here and many of you out there are indeed part of a generation that will live through a constant conversation about the climate change awareness. We have increasingly understood the enormous threat that emissions of greenhouse gases poses to humanity. Consequently, there is also a growing understanding that we need to expedite transition of our global systems to green energy for future. It has always been a hard nut to crack, understanding how generations before allowed this reality to pass. They let time to address the ensuing dangers to run out. And I commit as the MP and Member of Parliament Langata to be in the front of this fight. Thank you, and may God bless.
We have a special program that we would like to invite Mheshimiwa to launch it for us. Honorable, many of schools that are, and they will come back to you when to come to implementation from January up to 2030, when we will be evaluating the agenda of sustainable development goals. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
There is a banner for 40 years. We need him to cut it. There is a banner for 40 years.
Yeah. So we cut this one?
Yes.
Thank you. That is a great crusade that is fighting for our environment. The little change we can make. Thank you. It has already launched. So the MP has launched the Clean Energy School Champions. Thank you very much. And our MP, Honorable Felix Odiwuor, Mr. Jalas, is in the house. Thank you very much. So far, so good. We are doing well. So we have already launched the program for the Clean Energy School.
The movie was so perfect. Like, this is the motivation that we needed as young people. If we can get leaders doing this, we don't have to write letters to our children saying that we are sorry because we did not take action for this. So this is what we are going to do as young people. We're going to stand up for our environment.